Hello, my royal cuties, and welcome to Queen's Table Talk. It's your girl, Queen S, and we are officially live with our first episode. As always, please like, share, and subscribe, and do all that good stuff, baby, because you don't want to miss out on next episode now, do we? I don't think so. And before we get started, we are going to set some ground rules. So repeat after me. I come with an open heart and an open mind to take a seat at the table. I know that my perspective matters, and I hope that I either gain a better understanding of the perspectives that I have, or at least be open and willing to change them. I know that I do not have to be perfect in order for me to continuously choose to show up for myself every day, even if society and the world may tell me otherwise. And most importantly, I know God loves me. And that's on what Mary had a little lamb. Okay. So, as we already read the title of today's table talk, we are going to talk about our tested 20s. Okay. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you. Let me tell you something. Your girl really had it in her head that she was going to be a housewife with umpteen kids by the time that she's 26. Your girl is 29. She's in her last year of her tested 20s, about to go into thriving 30s. Okay. So we can already see how far stretched my imagination was once upon a time. Okay. I recall vividly being in my college dorm room at USF, making a vision board of my future. And I will try my best to try to see if I could find this photo so I could attach it into this video just so that y'all can see it. But I literally had it on my bathroom door and I saw it every single day. And on there, when did I want to get married by? I had 25 or 26. When did I thought that I was going to start my life? 25, 26, And as a society, I can just speak from my personal perspective. As a society, I felt like I had an invisible clock on my shoulder. I had an invisible clock telling me that by this age, I should have my life together. My life should be a puzzle piece, and I should have all the puzzle pieces in order to make this picture perfect. But what I did not know and did not learn until pretty much now is that life is filled with so many different puzzle pieces that you may not be able to finish that picture at the same time that you started. Normally, if I'm opening a box of puzzles, right, the puzzle may come with 10 different pieces. It's easy for me to showcase that picture. It's easy for me to follow along and put the puzzle pieces perfectly stitched in together because I'm only working with 10 pieces. But think of life as 1,000-piece puzzle piece that you have to finish, right? And just imagine having 1,000 different pieces to your puzzle for that picture, for that chapter, for that story in your life. And you've literally only found 5 of them. But society is telling you that by now you should have had the picture. You should have had the picture made out by now. That's crazy, right? But that's the reality for a lot of us. That's the reality for a lot of us, including myself. I I would even say that there was a point in time that I thought something was wrong with me because I was looking at my peers. I was looking at people that I grew up with, and I saw them building houses. I saw them creating families and homes with children filled with love. And here I am, single as a dollar bill, and I have not even a person, a spouse to myself. It can be an emotional roller coaster just looking at your life versus the life of your friends and assuming that you're missing out on something. In a way, I did feel that way for a very long time. In a way, the last couple of years, I kind of forced myself to feel like I had to find somebody. I had to find somebody because I could not let my 20s go out and I'm still with nobody. I still don't have a plus one. The amount of weddings that I've gone to, I still don't have a plus one. The amount of times that my mom and my dad call me to have conversations and they mention Do you have a boyfriend? You don't have a man by now? And I still don't have a different answer besides no. It can take a toll on you emotionally. It can take a toll on you physically. It can take a toll on you mentally, spiritually, hey, sexually too. And within my tested 20s, I had to unlearn and relearn myself time and time and time and time again. And I still am at 29. When I was 21, I recall having the best roommates ever. Shout out to y'all. I recall having the best roommates ever, and they took me on a scavenger hunt for my 21st birthday after I just got back from Broward back to Tampa after celebrating my 21st with, my family back home. They took me on a scavenger hunt, and I was so filled with love and so much gratitude that it wasn't even about me being legally able to drink. It was about, honestly, for the first time in my life, being poured on, being surprised for real, having that shock factor. I had it at 21, right? And then 22 comes around, and then 23 comes around, and then 24 comes around. And right before my 25th birthday, I had a revelation or an epiphany, some would say, when it comes down to self. I took a step back and I reevaluate all of my past relationships, situationships, whatever you want to call them. I call them situationships because they ain't, but we're going to say that topic for another day. But nevertheless, I took a step back and I looked at all of my past relationships, and I really asked myself, was I 100% devoted into these situationships? Was I on cruise control? Did I really care? Did I really love them, or was it a lust? Did I really see myself with these people, or were they just bodies? And after deciphering through, which we are going to have a conversation about my previous relationships because, well, gotta talk about them sooner or later. So why not now? Last year of 20s. But I took a step back and I asked myself, was I actually vulnerable in these relationships? Was I acting in these relationships as a partner, or a partner that I would want in return? And after I had a moment to have these self conversations, these self questions for myself, I realized that I wasn't. And then we took a little step deeper, and I realized the why behind it. And when you know better, you do better. So once I realized the why behind it, I knew that I could not go into my year 25. I knew that I could not go into this year carrying the same burden and the same weight that I was lifting at 21, 22, 23, and 24. Hell, since I was 9, 10, 11. And so I had a realization, and I decided to be open and honest with my parents, and I told them what happened to me when I was younger. This was something that I carried on, that I held on for years. I never told anyone of my parents. They didn't know anything of it. But I knew that if I wanted to change the dynamic of these relationships that I had with men, I had to be true to myself, and I had to be true to my story, even if there were ugly and nasty and sad parts of them. Your story cannot be your complete story if you're choosing what story you are willing to tell. You have to be able to tell your story authentically first before you expect anyone else to accept you authentically. And so I had a sit down conversation with my parents, and I told my parents what happened to me. And after that conversation, I felt a weight lifted. I felt lighter. I wouldn't say freer, but I felt lighter. And I knew that that was the first time in my life that I unlearned and relearned myself. And I knew that in that moment at 24, about to turn 25, and probably like a month and some change at the time, that it was my responsibility to continuously give myself that grace and continuously give myself the opportunity to say, hey, we learned this incorrectly. Now that we know what we know, we have to do better. So, how are we going to do better? Okay, you don't know how. All right, let's pray about it. You don't know how. Let's look at resources. You don't know how. Let's Google. You don't know why. Let's ask somebody. It is your responsibility as a self, as an individual, to take your time with unlearning and relearning yourself. And that includes boundaries. That includes the things that you are willing and not willing to accept. That includes the words that are being spoken over you. And the list continues. I saw my life in that moment as a domino effect. I was able to talk about this one thing. And as a result, it kind of opened Pandora's box, and I was forced to now hold myself accountable for everything else in my life that was not the best. Everything else that was in my life that did not make me feel my best self or did not make me feel good about myself. And it was my responsibility to also relay that information. I had to unlearn bad habits when it comes down to my communication because those were things that I learned while growing up. I'm not in no way, shape, form, or fashion bashing my parents, but their communication sucked growing up. And regardless of whether or not we want to give credit where credit is due, but nature and nurture shapes the way that you coexist within the world and yourself, whether it's good or bad. And especially when shaping your 20s. I was raised in a household where church, home, school, lakai, l'église, lakai, l'église, lakai. I had to remember, y'all. Lakai, Leglis, Neko. That's the way that I was raised. There was nothing that was in between. There wasn't any real heart to heart conversations when it comes down to experiencing the opposite sex, when it comes down to communicating and all this other good stuff. I had to learn these later on in my 20s. But because I lacked these fundamental tools and resources that could have saved me or could have helped me once upon a time, it caused me to think of my 20s as if I was on a clock. I was on this invisible clock that if I didn't get all thousand, every single last one of these thousand pieces to make this puzzle, then I was failing myself. And in return, I was failing the future version of myself when I was wrong. There is no there is no wrong or right way to show up. You've only lived this life once. You've only known how to show up for yourself once. And it is okay for you to have to go back on the drawing board once you know differently. Your tested 20s are the years of trial and error, and embrace that. I didn't embrace my trial and error. If anything, I resented them. If anything, once I once I was hurt, once I felt defeated, once I felt little or belittled, I closed off and I denied myself of those experiences again because of the first experience without understanding that it's trial and error, babes. It's okay. It's okay to have to go back on the drawing board a couple of times. It's okay to have to revisit certain things over and over and over again until you get it right. Baby, during your tested 20s, that's what they're there for. Is to test you, is to show you what you're capable of, even if you don't always believe it for yourself, to at least give yourself the opportunity to eventually get there. Trial and error is your tested 20s, is where you learn to love yourself. You learn your boundaries. You learn the way that you want people to speak to you, the way that you want to speak to people. I thought by me going to school and getting a degree in communication that I'm gonna wake up one day and just have the best communication skills ever. Miss ma'am. I had to learn the hard way, right? I had to learn the hard way that this piece of paper, yeah, it may have told me that I know the fundamentals when it comes down to communicating. But if I'm still raising my voice, if I'm still giving attitude, if I'm still not being open and receptive to the feedback that's being provided to me without catching an attitude, baby, then your communication skills, girl, BFFR. you know? And so I really, 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 really had to take a step back and realize that my 20s, I was not as gentle with myself. And I'm learning later on in my late 20s, almost pretty much being done with my 20s, being 29, 5, ooh, that it's okay. It's okay to not have it figured out. It's okay to still be living at home. It is okay to still be asking for help and asking for assistance and asking for direction. This is where you're supposed to. This is where you're supposed to gravitate to your community, gravitate to your friends, your family, your significant other if you're lucky enough, and gain those extra puzzle pieces without feeling as if you had to figure it out on your own, because you don't. God did not put you on this earth to have it figured out all on your own. That's not what he has you here for. There's somebody for everybody, and there's somebody for something that is outside of the tools and the resources that you have within yourself. You cannot be a one woman, one band, one sound, one man team. Even a marching band knows that. We may sound the best together, but that's because every instrument, they're on their note, they're hitting their key. The best gift that I gave to myself was to join chorus in high school. And I didn't realize just how beneficial that class was to me and what long lasting relationships and friendships that I've received from that class. But we all each had a part. You had the soprano, you had the alto, you had the tenor, you had the bass. We each had our own notes that we had to hold. Each individually, we had to show up for ourselves so that collectively as a sound, we sound beautifully. Think of life like as that, a beautiful song that has so many different intricate pieces that you will gravitate to when you need to. I didn't need to be a soprano in order for the song to have still sung the way that it sung. I was an alto baby. Sometimes a little bit of the a little bit of a tenor. Okay. you know, but my note was just as valuable as a soprano note, just as valuable as the baritone. And we all played our role and we all played our part to make the most beautiful songs sound just as beautiful. Life is all about trial and error, and your tested 20s ain't no different, baby. I wouldn't be surprised if thriving 30s, I'm still being tested like I'm in my 20s, but that's okay. That is okay. I gravitated to this saying. I don't remember where I saw the saying, but a man who knows everything knows nothing. And I truly believe that if you walk around with this arrogance that you know it all, you know nothing because you're not being receptive. You're not allowing yourself to be open to the other pieces of your puzzle. You don't know who's holding the other piece of your puzzle, babes. You don't know who God sent to bring you those other pieces to your puzzles. And I wish, I wish that I was more gentle with myself within my 20s. I wish I gave myself grace. I wish I spoke highly over myself. I wish I spoke life into myself in my early 20s because Sandra needed it. Sandra needed them words of encouragement. Sandra needed to feel special for Sandra. Sandra fought so hard to be here in so many ways. And if I would have poured into Sandra all by myself a little bit more, then a lot of the emotional abuse that I kind of self inflicted on myself too, it wouldn't have occurred. Granted, everything happens for a reason, even when it doesn't make sense. And I don't regret anything that I've done. When you know better, you do better. I am at a place of gratitude. I'm at a place of peace and understanding and knowing that everything that I have gone through happened, and that's okay. I'm not making an excuse for it. I'm not shaming myself for it, because you cannot heal at the same time giving yourself the same wounds. You cannot heal and hurt at the same time. You got to let something go. And I refuse to continuously hurt myself by poking at myself for the things that I did not know. That's not fair to me. That's not fair to you. And I'm at a place of gratefulness because all the things that I went through, trial and error, I'm now able to give a better insight to my little sisters. I'm able to give a better insight to friends that are younger than me. I'm able to let them know, like, hey, when I was your age, not we're at this place. Ooh, Jesus. I'm gonna need a drink. Okay, anyways. Now that I'm at this age where I'm now saying, when I was your age. But on the real though, I am so thankful that I am able to use the things that I did not know better to be able to teach others, to be able to show others that, hey, I could not be gentle with myself when I was your age, but you can. You could pour into yourself. You can go back on the drawing board. There has been so many times that I've had conversations with my little sister, and I'm not going to ever really go too much in deep discussion when it comes down to these conversations. But I've had conversations with my sister where I literally saw myself. I literally saw myself through my little sister, and I wished that I had someone to shake me out of it. I wish I had someone to tell me that, baby, you're at this age where you should ask for help. You should ask for reassurance. You should ask for clarifiers. That doesn't make you less than an adult. That makes you human. That makes you a person. That makes you you. If you don't ask questions and you're not trying to find yourself or find out information about others. And there's nothing to be ashamed about. There's nothing to be troubled about, knowing that you are still going to thrive. There's nothing to be ashamed about. You're still going to thrive. You're still going to be successful. You are in your tested 20s, baby. And it is here, trial and error. It is here to test you, to allow you to see yourself in different versions of yourself. Because regardless of anything, it is okay for you to not know what you know. And it's okay to also take your time to get to know yourself as many times as it takes. Because guess what? There's no rule book to life. All you have to do is show up. And that wraps up our first episode of Table Talk on Queen's Table with Queen Sandra. Please like, share, and subscribe and do all that good stuff, baby. I would love, 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 love to hear from my royal cuties on your experiences when it comes down to your tested 20s, whether that is the early 20s or your later 20s. I would love, love, love to hear your perspective. So please drop a comment below. Please feel free to DM me on all social media platforms. I am always open book. Let me know what else you would love for me to talk about on Table Talk, because I'm here for you. And as always, be gentle with yourself. Show up for yourself, and you don't have to be perfect to do either or. Love y'all, and until next time.